Hey everybody, Mike Naso here from podweather.com and Internet Partnership Radio with the latest on the tropics. We do have Tropical Storm Fred out there, and Fred is sitting in the extreme eastern Atlantic right about here, and it is very close to hurricane strength. This satellite imagery kind of looks a little ragged. You wouldn't know this is almost a hurricane, but it is, and it is still moving straight towards the west right now. We haven't seen any real change from that, but it is expected to slow down and make a curve to the north, and then probably the northeast, and maybe kind of have weak steering currents further north if the trough doesn't completely catch it. But it is expected to eventually pull out away from land and not be a feature we have to worry about at all. Here's the latest on Fred as of 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It was at 12.1 north, 29.8 west. Winds were 70, gusting to 85. Moving straight west at 13, 990 millibars, so right on the precipice of hurricane intensity. And it is expected to become a hurricane later tonight or tomorrow, and then remain a hurricane for a few days while it moves northwest, then north, then off to the northeast, weakens, and then kind of bends back a little to the northwest. But by that time it might be a remnant low, but there is a little bit of uncertainty in the intensity forecast, and I'll show you that in just a second. Here were the models yesterday, and you can see some of them, the motion was a little bit more towards the west-northwest, and most of the models, a lot of the ensemble tracks here, were taking it out towards 50 west and bending it west, and you can see now the furthest west some of them take it is towards 43, 44 degrees, so even though it continues to move further west than it was yesterday, the models are showing it much further to the east, so the likelihood is that the models will be correct in anticipating an eventual northward and then northeast and slow northward drift over the next few days with what will be Hurricane Fred. Now the latest satellite loop of the tropical storm, almost a hurricane, there at the end you could start to see there is the hints of an eye, and as this convection wraps all the way around the rest of it, it will become a hurricane. And I gotta tell you, here are the Cape Verde Islands right here on the edge of the screen. To have a strengthening system this well organized with outflow in all quadrants, note the dry air up here from the stable air mass, that is unfavorable, but the system's maintaining itself well. To have such a strengthening system so close to the Cape Verde Islands is something we haven't seen in a few years, but this is very, very typical of Cape Verde hurricanes. In the last couple of years, though, they've been very weak until they get towards 40, 45, 50 west. This one appears to be classic Cape Verde hurricanes near the islands, and it could be a force to be reckoned with. The Hurricane Center does note that with the pattern it has, it could potentially rapidly intensify over the next few hours into a strong hurricane. How strong a hurricane? Well, based on this satellite image, maybe a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane, a Category 2, very possible. Hurricane Center's bringing it up to 90 before it turns. But again, looking at this satellite imagery just to see where it began from Africa, lost that latitude, has continued west, it is kind of hard to imagine this thing just turning straight out like that, but that is what is forecast to happen by all the models, and unless this thing just keeps sliding this way and then tries to come up, it won't be a threat to any land masses at this time at all. So we won't have to deal with Fred other than tracking it harmlessly in the eastern Atlantic. Now there's Linda in the eastern Pacific. As of 5 p.m. was at 15.5, 128.4. Winds were actually 60 miles an hour. This map has different criteria. It was gusting to 70, moving northwest very slowly at 997 millibars. The latest satellite imagery of it, though, does show that this really has gotten a bit interesting just in the last few hours. It has developed an eye feature. By all accounts, this is a hurricane satellite signature, so even though it's only 60 miles an hour, it almost became a hurricane yesterday when it did this, but this is a much better defined eye type of feature. So don't be surprised if there's a special advisory issued by the Hurricane Center saying, hey, this is Hurricane Linda, because based on this, I'd reckon it's getting up there towards minimal hurricane strength if it isn't already. That's the latest on the tropics. I'm Mike Naso from Internet Partnership Radio. Check out IPR365.com today. You won't regret it.